So today we got another event. We're going out to see Street Profits, and he's gonna be doing a stand-up speech. Now, I've talked about it with him on the interviews before, but we haven't really gone in depth on how he does his speeches. So he was incarcerated at one point, and now today's speech is gonna be how he came from that to getting his master's in business. So hope y'all stay tuned. Tell me if y'all like this, and we're gonna keep on running it up, man.
Hello, everybody. I'm really feel very comfortable in this room right now. I can feel the energy, you know what I'm saying, and everything. But I really appreciate you having me here. I want to thank Seth right away because it's really important to me because I see the need. And I'm just going to kind of take you down through my journey. It's been a beautiful journey. It's so exciting to me, everything that's been happening, because it all came from an idea, and that idea was inside of me, and it gave birth, and I had nothing at all to see how it would come about. You know what I mean? I had no money, had no resources, but I'm going to get to all that. Sometimes I get very excited. You want to give it all just right that moment because this thing is huge. Well, me, myself, I also was incarcerated. So being incarcerated, I seen the need. You know what I'm saying? I seen the big need. I grew up in a home that didn't, a good home. A mother and father that worked. My mom was heavily in the church. My father he taught me work ethic and everything. So I was raised right, but I made bad choices. So the choices that I made, once you start making them, it's hard to turn around sometimes. And that's what happened with me. But I always had something inside that was telling me like this ain't you. So I got in pretty deep. I got in so deep that I was transporting drugs to New York City and just pretty much all over United States. And it got real bad. It got so bad that I even had to get extradited. So the U.S. Marshals had to get me when it all came down. And I was so happy when it did. It was like something inside of me was like, oh, it's over. Because it's like I always was walking with me inside of me that there was more to my life than this. And now, what I know now is like I had to go through all this to do what I'm doing now. Because I would be around guys that were doing, we're doing what we do when you sell drugs. And I would just look around the room and it was like I was just playing a part. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't supposed to be here, and there was times that I almost gave up and was just like, well, this is what it's going to be. This is all I'm going to do. But then it always, like I said, this little voice inside of me was like, no, you have something better prepared for you in life. So as I did time in prison, the idea of Street Profits came to me. And that process happened when I started to change the way I think. And I think that's big because a lot of times the behavior, what's happened is the trauma and everything that's happened through people's lives, it steers them wrong and maybe get them to peer groups that are not good for them, or even start to use drugs and are drinking a lot that causes them to have bad decisions, right? So all this was a process with me as well. It all started I was a wrestler in high school, and it started with the weekend drinking. Then it started further, you drinking 3 days a week, and it just starts growing. It starts out all fun. Starts out with marijuana, smoke a little marijuana, then it turns into other stuff. With me, though, I think it was more of I was always a strategic thinker. I got my bachelor's degree in chemistry later. And this is me even doing prison time, coming out, and this whole time I still have this mentality that's not already there yet. So I go to UMKC to get my chemistry degree, but I'm sitting there still in this double life type of mindset. I'm kind of shut off, not telling people about my past. And I'm trying to live this life of, go to school and see what happens. Well, I end up doing that and get my chemistry degree, but I go back in selling drugs. I go back what was comfortable to me. Because a lot of times that what's uncomfortable to us, we don't want to, it's too uncomfortable, so you go where it's comfortable with you. But I've learned now that that's where you want to be, where it's uncomfortable, because that's how you grow, And that's where now I'm always like to live in, and my mindset is set for that. So as I'm in prison, as I say, the idea comes to me, and then as the idea comes, I start changing the way I look at things. And what helped me with that was I started reading the Bible, and I started reading it, but then I started to apply it to my life. So it was like, instead of just reading it and saying, man, it made me feel good, I started to actually apply it. So I started seeing the promises of God that he says that happens in your life with it start happening in my life. I started seeing the old things pass away, like you said. That was one thing that really was remarkable to me. I wasn't thinking the same. The guards in there started coming up to me and saying, man, you're like a light in here. The guys in prison would come up to me and they wanted to talk to me and sit down. They would say they would come to me because they knew I came out of what they're trying to get out of, but they see I'm standing strong in trying to be a new me. They were seeing this, you know what I mean? And I didn't realize that I was inside, though I was struggling. I was just trying to get to that new thing, but these people were seeing that. Even the guards would like bring me in food. Sometimes they would be like, hey man, no, this is for you. You're a light. And the guards were asking me for advice. This was huge, And then I never forget this because a guard see me. I would go to the library and get calculus books because I've always been a nerd at heart. So I was getting calculus books. And then the guard looked at me, he was like, what are you looking at? I said, man, I'm just keeping the mind right, doing some calculus problems. He's like, oh my God, where are you from, man? What is going on? But there was my idea of like keeping my mind strong, and I had all this stuff working, these ideas and everything. And I started going around the prison and telling everybody, when I get out, I'm going to go and start mentoring the young people. I'm going to start mentoring the young people. And of course, the guy's like, get out of here, man. You done did all this time, and how are you going to do that? But it was inside of me to say that. And it was crazy because I would go back to my bunk and sit down and go, God, am I lying to these people? Because it was just an idea. But I was like, God, I'm going to trust you. You got this in me for a reason, and everything. So I stayed with it. I stayed strong. So I had a reputation in prison as no nonsense. So guys that came to me, they were like, no, that guy he ain't about no nonsense. Or they would sit at the table with me and they were like, be cussing or something. They go, oh, excuse me, sir. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, it's not saying that I was seeing that it wasn't about me. It was about what was inside of me and what character I was displaying. So I was inspiring and encouraging these men to want to change their lives. I would have shot callers, as you call them in prison, that these guys they have power in there. And they would wait till late at night to come see me. They would come up to me when no one's around and go, man, I've been watching you. I wish I can do what you're doing, And me, I'm just trying to do my thing and change my life. I just go, hey, man, I found Christ and that's what I'm doing. He's like, man, I wish I had the courage. I said, you can do it. You just got to do it. And sometimes I wonder about some of those guys that I spoke to, but then every now and then I will bump into them when I go into prisons. So let me speed it up a little bit. It said, prison, the idea comes to me. I get released and I go to the parole office in Junction City. And as I'm at the parole office there, this idea is just steaming in me. So I started Street Profits at the same parole office that I was reporting to. And this is like unheard of. So you do parole. I was on parole for 6 months. I started doing it there with two months, and the parole officer there, he approved of it. So I was showing up there doing classes with guys when they would get out of prison. I would go and I would talk to them, and it was always about Jesus like that. It was just showing them love, that I care. So I started helping them getting jobs, and how I did that is I would go to the workforce center and build relationships with these people, and I would find resources I can give them so they can find jobs and everything. So it was like I was seeing that this thing was so amazing because it wasn't about how much I had. It's about how much determination I had to what was inside of me to pour it out to the world, So as I was doing that, these guys were coming, and the head of KDOC, she's a lady who's over all the people, put people in prison and everything. Then she says, I hear this guy in Junction City that's got all these ex-cons going to this class that we can never get them to go to. They're showing up. Well, what is this? So she wanted to meet me. And when she met me, she met me. I know she was trying to figure me out, see if I was for real or phony. I was trying to run a game or something like that. So she takes me out to eat, and then we're talking and everything. And then I said, hey, I need you to take me over to, it was a local boys home. I don't know if anybody's familiar with it. It's called New Directions. And she goes, I said, I need you to take me over to New Directions. I got to go to work there. She's like, what? How are you working there? Because I'm on parole. I'm going to remind you, I'm on parole, and this is a job for the state. So that's like unheard of. You know what I'm saying? So they gave me an opportunity and a chance there. So I was already like getting developed on how to work with young people. So she goes there, she sees it in the back of my mind. This is how the devil always talks to you. Okay, she's going to go that bad. You're going to be fired from that job. You ain't going to be able to keep that job. But I told them the truth. They knew where I came out of prison. and nothing happened, you know. And I worked there, and me and her became friends. So from that process, I started going and doing prison tours. And I got offered to do prison tours, and then the governor gave me an award for Volunteer of the Year award for the whole state of Kansas. And as this stuff was happening, I'm still like humbled, like what is going on, right? But I'm starting to realize that as I was developing, the more that was coming for me to handle, you know what I mean, for Street Profits to do what it's supposed to do. So in that point, New Directions, I get off parole, become best friends with my parole officer. Like, this is crazy. You know, I mean, best friends with him where we're on a relationship basis that even he got married recently. He calls me to get to his wedding. And then he gets an award to be retired from being a parole officer in front of all these police officers. Half of them probably raided houses I had, dope houses I had and everything. They're in the audience and I'm uncomfortable in this uncomfortable situation. You know, I ain't got no trouble. I don't drink. I don't do any drugs anymore. I don't want to mess with any of that stuff. And lawyers and judges are there because he's retiring. This guy says, "Bro, come up here with me." And I'm like, what is he doing? Really? You know what I'm saying? I come up with him. He puts his arm around me. He says, "This is a changed man right here. This is what this guy is doing. This is what we need." And I felt so uncomfortable right now. You're talking about sweat, bullets, sweat coming down. I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen at this point? But what happened was the same police department that was raiding houses that I had, when they see me in the community, they would shake my hand and say, "Keep doing what you're doing." So the community started backing up what Street Profits was doing as well. So these are those resources, right? You know, when you have a purpose, like you're going to school now, you have this desire, this dream in your heart. You have that, you have to go for it, and God will lay it all out. It's already there. I just had to walk it through. So going a little bit forward, see, Street Profits is still just kind of like in the prison. I'm thinking the whole time it's just going to be in the prison system. You know, I'm like, okay, I'm doing these tours, I'm going to all these prisons and whatnot, and speaking to men. I started mentoring to them over the Zoom because then COVID hit, and then I started doing a lot of mentoring through there, and you know, just encouraging them to change their lives and to think differently. Then it came to another level where I started getting phone calls from the high school. And then the high school wanted me to come in there to start talking to the football team. Just last week, I was with the baseball team. So it started with the sports. And then it started with JAG-K programs that are trying to develop young people. Then it started going to the elementary school. And I want to tell you, the elementary school was the scariest for me because them kids will tell you the truth. They'll tell you the truth. So I was shaking. I was shaking up there, like, you know, and they had me go in there, and I started doing, you know, once you get one, then they all start calling you. So I'm doing this tour to all the elementary schools, and I'm doing on anti-bullying, you know, and everything. So I'm like, God, you have a sense of humor, because I used to do more bullying than anybody, and now I'm sitting there teaching people not to bully. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, I'm going to the elementary school doing this, and it like did something for me. It like gave me a boost, and just seeing those young kids just smiling, seeing the need that this was bigger than even what I thought at the beginning was just going to the prisons. Everybody needs encouragement. Everybody needs to be inspired, you know? So then it goes to the middle school. The middle schools call me. And then better yet, the same probation office that I was going to, they called me up and say, "We got a big conference. We need you to motivate the staff for our staff so they can be with these young people and get them to develop and, you know, and be there on their side, you know, and everything." So, I mean, this thing was so big and huge that I just couldn't, I still just smile about it because I know there's more to come. So Street Profits started, you know, as just clothes, and the clothes was just to inspire, right? So it was just to inspire young people, all people. And the next thing I know, I started getting people on Facebook would send me pictures in California, Colorado, preachers on the stage with Street Profits jackets and all kind of stuff. And I was seeing this movement with it. It was about inspiring people. It was about that people should have another chance. It was about that you do have another chance. It's up to you, you know. And I just said, I just so thankful that I was the one that God called to do that, you know. And it comes with a lot of more development in myself, which I do. I work at Job Corps, and I started at Job Corps as a supervisor, and then went up to a director. And I did this in 3 years, where it took some people 20 years to do that. And I say that because I worked very hard, you know, just on what I do. And I just worked on myself and just loving people, you know, and just loving them. Whereas now to the point where I get calls all the time from young people. I don't even remember their names, but they'll say, I remember what you said to me. Or I'd be somewhere and an inmate, a guy who was in prison that heard me speak, will bump into me somewhere and go, man, I remember what you told me one day. And I sitting there looking at him like shaking like this, and I don't remember what I said or anything. But I think that's the whole key to it is, I think if I was arrogant or I was trying to do this for myself, I would try to remember all this stuff and try to, use this for like to boast about it. But this is just like who I'm understanding who I am. And, and the name Street Prophets came because in the churches, and it's a whole different time right now. When I was growing up, you better go to church unless you're going to get a beat down. I'm serious. Anybody old enough to know about that? The beat downs, go to church. If you ain't in church, you're going to get a beat down. So nowadays, the churches are empty, and there's a need, though. So I said, let's go out to the streets. And the streets is not necessarily the neighborhoods. It's the grocery stores, the middle schools, the high schools, boys' homes, wherever that may be where there's a need to help people, and everything. So I think of more to say, but I think I said pretty much enough there, because I could talk for days for you. You can see my passion with it. It's a lot of hard work, Like I said, I have a business partner who's a judge, and like I said, God has a sense of humor. Everybody got attached to me with people that deal with law enforcement and everything now. My business partner, he's a judge, and as we were getting all this stuff, like to do Street Prophets, so we do all our clothing on our own and everything. And what I do is I also use young people to come up with the designs. A guy from K-State designed this one. He designed this. Am I running out of time? Okay, all right. I'm gonna open it up for questions right now. I could talk for days on this, but one person from K-State designed this design. Yeah. I'm gonna give you the mic. Yep.
So this is a personal question, so you don't have to answer it, but I'm so curious, talking about your journey and kind of the past things that you were involved with that led to your spending time in prison, and then also you had mentioned that when you were a kid you did some bullying and and I talk, every kid kind of makes some of those mistakes too, but I'm curious about dealing with guilt, on a personal level. Do you experience guilt about past choices, or when you talk to kids about anti-bullying, do you ever feel a sense of imposter syndrome because you're you said that, yeah.
How I handle that, with myself, that was the hardest thing for me to do, was forgive myself, what I've done. And I remember pacing around in that jail cell saying, if God forgave me, then I can forgive myself. So it took a long time to do that, but I had to understand that your past don't define you, and that I got to walk to the future. I had to leave the past alone to walk into the future. And I eventually just forgave myself, and knowing that if God can forgive me, why can't I forgive myself? And with young people that I've done these things that they've done, or they about to do, I can see it a mile away. Sometimes I'd be like, come here, I know you about to do. But what I do with that is I'm just real with them. I just be transparent with them, to not be a hypocrite, to say don't, this and that. I just let them know that this is what will come with it. I've been there and I don't want that to happen to you. So I just use tact with it. Everyone's different. Every young person's different. I mean, everyone that comes into my office at my job, they're different. They have a different story or something different that's happened in their life. And I just come at it that way. But first, it's always important to build a relationship. That's the biggest thing, build a relationship with them. Any other questions?
So some of my previous work has been in foster care. I was a emergency case management for a little bit, about a year at a time, and I had a very difficult caseload, and I actually had a few kiddos that ended up in the Geary County Juvenile Center as well. So I was just curious maybe how much work you do with juveniles, and how some of those decisions that maybe you've made with them has completely turned lives around, because I did have some really heartbreaking stories that came to me, and I don't know where those kids have ended up now.
Yes, I do. I go to the Juvenile Detention Center in Junction City. Like I said, there's so many things that I can talk about that Street Prophets has been doing. But the Juvenile Detention Center, I go there twice a month. And I just did a fun day with them where we had board games. And the students there, the students, the kids there, or they have so many traumatic stories, and they're so amazing. So what I do with them is I look for their gift and tell them to find what they love doing and just build on that, and just come in there and just build that relationship with them. When they get out, I give them my email and they email me, and I send them a Street Profits shirt to them. I even had some of them in there draw designs for Street Profits, and that's what I was getting at. Street Profits, it went deeper where I started having people who were hurting do stuff for Street Profits, and that built them up. Even guys in prison that got life in prison, he did a design because he's never going to go home, but his design will be out there in the world, and it gives him purpose, a sense of purpose.
Okay, so you talked about how after being incarcerated, you went to higher education.
Yes.
And you kind of talked about the struggle of feeling like you were living a double life, or you had these two things that other people couldn't understand. Was there any sort of support that you wish you had received from the people that worked around you or worked in higher education in your classes, or because we work with college students and we do stuff like this because we want to know how to better support people. So I think it's a very cool perspective that you experience that.
I think that's a great question. I think that when I was going to UMKC to get my bachelor's, that was in early 2000s, and it was 2000, I think, and they didn't have programs like that. So I would reach out to students to try to other students to talk to them about it, and they would just run away. I wouldn't see them the next day. They'd be gone. They'd be like, bye. You was cool, but they ain't that cool. But I think that this have programs or people attached to the university that have been incarcerated that have changed their lives to be able to encourage them. I think that's the best thing. Or if you have just a area they can go to just vent, just talk about the struggles they're going through. Then I did go to school again. I just got my MBA from UMKC in December. So that was a different experience because now my mind is on a whole different level. So it was just like working through that uncomfortability and that past, because you feel like you're rejected. And I think that's the biggest thing if you do have students who have been incarcerated, because they feel like they shouldn't be there. It's almost it's just a natural feeling, I think. Like, I shouldn't be here, but you should. Life's got to go on. You got to take the next step.
So with you talking about giving, believing in second chances, trying to give people second chances, even having people that don't really maybe believe in themselves to do work with you and for you. I guess, do you ever come across young people, students that are working with you? They're dang, they just maybe keep going down the same path, or it's dang, well, maybe I'm not the resource for them, that you're not necessarily they don't deserve another chance, but when you're reach your limit, okay, I gotta send you somewhere else because I'm not the resource for you. Or how do you kind of figure out when that is for you, if that makes sense?
One thing is I tell everybody that young people that work with me is that we're going to build some trust here, and you need to be honest with me. When I start seeing they're not being honest and they're doing things, especially they're not going to be working with me and they're constantly using drugs. So I do have some people I mentor to, and they struggle with that back and forth, but I'm always there. But I tell them right now, you can't be a part of this. You know what I'm saying? Until you get yourself together. If they're that far gone. I have one right now, he's struggling majorly, but I show him the love. I'm here, and he calls me, I talk to him, but I can't take him places that where I'm going or whatever, because we're going out there to help people. And if what I'm saying, we have to have integrity with the brand. That's a part of it. Any other questions? I hope I answered them good. Yeah. I appreciate everybody. Yeah.
We will get rules and contact information,
Yes.
so if you all have any further questions and follow-up that you'd love to do, we'll definitely get that sent to you all at the end of today's meeting. But can we give one more round of applause for rules?
Yeah. Can I do one thing? Can I do one thing and take a picture with everybody? Is that fine? Yeah. Yeah. We can stay where you're at. I can turn this way. He can take it. Let's see. Is this enough room? Or do I need to? Okay, we're scrunch in. Where should I go? Did I? I feel awkward, right? See, I feel uncomfortable right now. I'm very uncomfortable. I think I should be like over here. Yeah. Yeah. That broken? Would I be covering you? Okay. Okay.
Find your window.
Can we do a goofy picture?
Oh yeah, go Cash.
Yeah. Go Cats. Let's go. There we go.
All right. All right. Now I'm back in the car. So I hope you all enjoyed today, because, you know, that was a really good speech. It was a really good speech. The way he just came and evolved his surroundings. Like, he was in jail having the big dogs turn around and say, yo, man, like, I respect your path, bro. That just shows, bro. Like, you could do anything you want, and I hope y'all understand, like, man, lock in, focus on God, and then focus on your stuff, bro. That's all you need. That is the formula to achieving any dream you want. Anything. So, I hope y'all enjoyed today's video, bro. Because we